Hey, in this video, I'm going to show you some ways to get the aspect ratio of the output display that you're working with in TouchDesigner. So there may be some operator somewhere that just gives you this information, but I haven't really found it. So I'm going to show you a few ways that I've found to get the width and height of the display and then divide those, because that's all the aspect ratio is, width divided by height, to get the aspect ratio. So the first thing is I'm just going to open a TextDat, because that's an easy way to type some Python code and have it just run. And it doesn't mean you have to actually have a script, but there are, like a lot of the ways do involve Python, but you don't have to have a script or TextDat to do that. You can just type it right into like a field in a parameter, right? So a short expression can just go right in there instead of having a separate operator for it. But I'm doing it in here so that we can keep track of what we're doing. So if I just say W, make up a variable name, width is 1920 and height is 1080, and I want to just print to the screen width divided by height, that should give me the aspect ratio. So if I just, I should be able to hit Control R right now, but I'm not convinced that works. My computer, it's kind of flaky, but let's see. So how do we see the output? We can go to the dialogues menu and hit Textport and DAT, or you can just split your screen and make this side the Textport and DAT. So that works. I'll just move this over. So nothing came out, but the other way I can do it is, well, let me go back in and hit Control R. So on my computer, I don't know what the deal is, but like I have to leave the op and go back to hit Control R. It's kind of frustrating. The other way is if you make it not viewer active, you can right click and choose Run Script. So that does seem to work. That's the aspect ratio. So we'll comment this out, and like obviously putting the numbers in there isn't very helpful. We want to get the actual width and height from TouchDesigner. So one way that I can get the width and height is by, well, let's see. If we just, in an operator, I'm just going to click Python help here. What is that? That's the language. Okay, so I'm going to hit Python help. And this is, the help for the TextDat. But if I go to Python class reference, we'll see that there are a bunch of operator-related classes. This is what we're typically doing. We want to get information about an operator, one of its parameters or its output or something. But there are also helper classes. So there's one, absolute time is one people use a lot, and then monitors. And monitors actually has a monitor class within it. So if I click on monitors, there's primary here. So monitors.primary should give me the primary monitor. And then once I get that, I should be able to get access to all of its members, including the width and height. So let's give that a try. If I come back over here and say width is equal to monitors.primary.width, and H is monitors.primary.height, then this should still work. And just so I don't get messed up by the Control R, I'm going to right click and choose Run Script. We get the same number. Brilliant. Okay, so that's another way. Okay, what else can I do? I think, well, there's also, in addition to having the Python monitors class, there's also a monitors DAT. So that actually includes the same information. So if I look at this list, it shows one of the columns is primary. So the one that says 1 is going to be our primary monitor, same as over here. And then there's a width and a height. Those are columns 7 and 8. So maybe what I'll do is just access those by their numbers, 7 and 8. Let's try that. So width equals, well, we need to access that operator. So we use op and then the name of the operator, monitors 1 in quotes, and then dot, no, not a dot. We use a bracket with like the row, comma, column. That should work. And then height is equal to the same thing. Monitors 1, row 1, column 8. It's row 1 because it's actually, well, it says right there, 1. It's the second row. We're skipping the headers. So let's see if this works. I will run script again, and that seems to have worked. Okay. What else? That's another way. Let's try something else. Another way that I've found is, when you go into perform mode, and hit escape to get out of there, That works because in the root of your TouchDesigner project, there's a perform window right here. And if we click on the parameters for that, we'll see that the perform window has a width and height. Now it's only there if you've actually specified a width and height. So we'd have to go to, like, if we do custom, we can put in 1920 by 1080 here. Whoops, 1080. So that's going to be the size of our performance window. So let's say we were doing that. I mean, you know, these are all different ways. Some of them are going to be more appropriate than others, but let's try this one. So we know that it has a width and a height parameter. Let's go back into the project, and here we can do width equals, and same thing, we call on that operator, which is called perform. That was the name of that window. And look at a parameter called WinW, because that was the name of it in there. I don't know if you saw that, but if you go to, just if you don't know this, if you go to any parameter, you can hover over it to see what the name is. So that in gray it says file, here it says edit, here it says default read encoding. So that's the name that you would access it with through Python. So this one was WinW, and then same thing here, op perform parameter win height. Let's try this, run script, and it's failing. So this says none type object has no attribute parameter. It's a really cryptic message, but it's one that you see a lot, and basically means there is no such thing called parameter because this does not exist. So we're trying to call parameter on something that is none type, nothing. So the reason is because there is no perform operator in this window. You actually have to use it like it was a directory path, right? Like /project/monitors1 is the name of this, the absolute name of this. So if we want to go backward outside of project, we actually have to give it its full absolute path, which is /perform, since it's one level above project. So let's try that now. I will right click and choose run script. And it's still got a problem. Project text 1 line 30. Name H is not defined. Oh, okay. You all probably saw that, but this is supposed to be H. Let's try that again. Okay, 17770. So that's working as well. I'll show you one last way, which is not exactly the same. This isn't showing the size of the display, but it's showing the resolution that I'm outputting at. So let's say we have some generator, like a circle top, and one thing we can do is make that go out to an info chop. We can do this with any operator and get info about that operator. Now, if we look at the info here, it shows that, why is that? Okay. It shows that there are a couple of interesting bits there. There's res X, res Y, and aspect X, aspect Y. Okay, so let's change the resolution to something else. Oh boy. So let's change the resolution to be whatever the parent panel size is. So you'll see these change, right? Res X, res Y is 1280 by 780. Same for aspect X and aspect Y. So that's maybe useful. We could, based on that, get the same kind of information that we've got here from the perform operator, and instead get it from the info operator. So let's see if we can make that happen. Info, and guess it's a channel. So we're just gonna get the name of the channel, which is resx. Other channel is called resy. Let's see if this works. I will run script, and it says there's an error. Let's see. None type is not scriptable. Okay, so it's not called info, it's called info1. Let's try changing that. Info1, and let's split again so we can get our text port, sorry. Run again. And we get 1777. So That's not exactly the aspect ratio of the display, but that's the aspect ratio of whatever we're outputting in the network. So a few different ways that you could get that info. And in a separate video, I'll show a case where we actually need to know that, that information. Okay, good luck.